Welcome to this episode of Devcast. My name's Andrew Deverell-Smith. I'm the Group CEO of the Deverell-Smith Group, which encompasses Hintel and Deverell-Smith. Today, we're joined by Tom Brooks, our head of country for Saudi Arabia. And really excited that we've finally managed to drag him onto the Devcast to talk all things talent within the kingdom. And we'll get rolling.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you for finally joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I've been trying to wrestle you on here for a few months.
Yeah.
I don't know why you've resisted.
No, it wasn't really on my to-do list, but we're here now.
Just tell me what's happening right now. What's happening in the market right now?
Things are busy. There's a lot of movement internationally. Lots of people are still coming from Australia and the UK, specifically in the kind of real estate development space. I think there's a demand for digital experts now. The projects are progressing. It's a bit of a vibe at the moment.
And what is the appetite between attracting global talent, bringing it into the kingdom, versus talent that already exists, could be expatriate or local talent? What do you see there? Yeah,
I mean, look, there's a bit of a battle always versus bringing people with that regional GCC experience against bringing in new blood with innovative ideas. But I still think having that local or regional experiences it mitigates a lot of the risk for clients. So that is preferable, but I would say in my experience it's probably kind of discipline dependent.
And has that changed over the time that you've been working the market? Have you seen a shift in
I
mindset?
think it depends on what sector it is and what the person specialises in. But I think for Saudi Arabia specifically, candidates need to be adaptable. It's a very different place. So if you're coming straight from the UK or Australia or the US, it can be challenging. So you need to be open, adaptable, and a bit of a sense of humility, I would say.
Talk to me about the geography. Like, how has that changed in your time of working this sector, the marketplace? Have you seen a shift geographically in terms of where the need is and where the activity is?
Yes, I would say Riyadh is still the anchor, especially with the 2030 Expo and the World Cup, immovable dates. But Jeddah is still busy. And then you have, new areas down in Asir and Abba that are, destinations by themselves now, not just satellite offices. And obviously, over in the West, you've got the Red Sea and NEOM, two of the biggest projects. But I think Riyadh is still the capital city. And, a lot of the investment and diversification is centred in the capital with the two events that I mentioned, the Expo and the World Cup. It's going to attract a lot of energy and excitement.
What is the most common theme that you hear from the market, from the candidate pool being attracted to work in the kingdom?
I think it's the scale of the projects. They are generational. So candidates, they really want to be involved and I guess, have make their mark on the projects. We all know the big Giga projects. So candidates are first of all interested in being involved in such a transformative development, regardless of said asset class.
You just can't find these anywhere else in the world, right?
No, it's once in a lifetime for sure, and it is it's the 2030 vision and beyond. So to have an opportunity to work on one of those projects and make your mark is pretty significant.
What do you see as being the biggest challenges to the employers of the market in real estate to hire world-class talent, attract that from overseas or internally?
Yeah, there's a war of talent going on. So I guess, employers and clients, they really need to build a career path for candidates. Longevity is important. So I think building a career path and room for growth, candidates to a certain degree will have to take that upon themselves, to make sure that they're adapting and building relationships that, can make change.
How do you advise candidates wanting to get into the Saudi real estate market? Like, what can they do to prepare themselves, to give themselves the best opportunity to be successful, I guess, in securing a role?
I don't think that's geographically specific. I think it comes down to, networking in your specific sector. It's hard. You need to make relationships with headhunters that specialize in said discipline. I think it's traditional networking skills that are really going to help a candidate, get their ideal job.
Tom, give me some success stories.
Yeah.
You've made hundreds of placements within the kingdom, but can you talk about a couple of examples without naming names? What stands out, as being particularly impactful or enjoyable?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's always a feather in the cap, for us to make executive placements on projects that that we know and understand and are honoured to partner. So, for us to place leaders across projects, it's something that we thrive on and we love doing, right? So, it shows that we're good at what we do. We love it, I think the word feather in the cap kind of resonates with me personally because it's what we love doing.
And I think it's fair to say from time to time you have drifted outside of what might be classed as core real estate. Can you give me some examples of the less common roles that you've had the pleasure of?
I think so. Primarily, we enter or we start working with new projects and clients because of our real estate development experience, and that's our bread and butter, really, in terms of talent solutions. But we've got involved in some really interesting searches. Arabian leopard breeders. I think the Arabian leopard breeders was probably the most obscure search. It really is the full spectrum.
And were you successful in finding?
We were successful, yeah.
Tom, what solutions is it that you and your team are providing that are cutting through into the market that you think add, exponential value? What is it that outside of, I suppose, classic recruitment, job board activity and all the rest of that? What is it that you've decided to do that's really elevated your game, and your team's performance?
Well, I think as a team, we've got, over 100 years regional experience, so our clients value that. So embedding, the team into a project is something that I think traditionally clients question reasons why. But once they understand and start seeing the value in that, I think embedding us as an extension of their recruitment team is definitely the most powerful.
Tom, tell me, where do you see, just in the short-term future, the next 12 to 18 months, do you see any changes in the conditions? What are the conditions today? What do you think they'll be this time next year or 18 months' time?
I think it's going to be even busier. I think opportunities are going to outweigh talent, which is great for us. But there are some significant, global events coming up. And I know I go back to it, but Expo 2030 and the World Cup, they're immovable dates. They are major, global events. So there's going to be a real buzz around Riyadh specifically. I think Jeddah, Alula, they're still going to be busy, but I think the hub of most of the investment and activity is still going to be Riyadh. But back to your question, I think it's just going to get busier.
So if the competition's going to rise, timescales are shrinking to achieve certain dates, and that naturally increases pressure. What are the 2 or 3 simple things that clients can do right now, if you're correct? The market is going to become even more competitive in 12 months' time.
I think being proactive, not reactive, I think that's key. Workforce planning, budgeting, talent pooling.
Any exciting developments on the horizon that you're stalking or watching and excited about, Tom? Without naming names necessarily, what do you see coming that the world isn't necessarily aware about?
Yeah, maybe not on the radar as such. I think the holy cities, Medina and Mecca, there is some enormous investment, private and public sector, in the hospitality space. So it's probably not a secret, but I think it is slightly going under the radar. It's a massively important part of the country for obvious reasons. So the investment's there, and there's a bit of a buzz around those areas at the moment.
Tom, you're a really successful guy. Recruitment-wise, you've been doing this 20 years. You've worked the region for the majority of that time. But as we know, the region is, on fire. It's going great guns. So what is it about the Saudi market that you love and keeps your full attention?
I think it's the vision and the scalability of the projects. It's just the size of the developments. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it. So I think for me in my industry to be partnering with projects that most people will know now globally, I think there's a handful of recruiters that they trust and rely on, or executive search firms, talent consultants. So for me to be in a position to be a preferred partner is, again, it's a bit of a feather in the cap.
Tom, when we're both old and grey and we're hanging up our telephones and throwing the suits finally in the dustbin, where do you see Saudi at that point? Let's say 20, 25 years from now.
Yeah.
Do you have a clear picture in your mind as to what it will look like?
I mean, it's difficult to answer. It will obviously have matured. I imagine there will be a larger expat community living there. There are some beautiful parts of the country that people probably are not aware of globally, with different climates, and people can live there all year round, right? It's not just Riyadh. So I imagine the expat community will grow vastly, and it will be a mature global market.